Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic. Today is the day after Christmas. And yes, I still think we're all psychic the day after Christmas, 2023, December 26th. And today's a very special day for me because my grandmother, my mom's mother, my gram, turned 100 years old today. She's amazing. She's amazing. And it is noisy in my condo complex right now, and plus we have a very loud mowing going on. Gandalf is very excited about something. So Misty's not here, but she's coming by either tomorrow or Thursday, and we have a podcast we're going to put together and do for you that we've been planning on for a while. Oh my gosh, now we have the neighbors' dogs all talking too. I hope I can edit some of this sound out. What is it, Gand? Oh my goodness, Mal. You come do the podcast? You come tell people if you think we're all psychic. Today I want to talk about the term spiritual awakening. And if you look at this podcast, you probably have heard that term and you know it well, or maybe you don't. Maybe you found this podcast because you think you're having a spiritual awakening. What is it? What's a spiritual awakening? Most people would say their spiritual awakening has to do with metaphysics. Now, I'm from the South, and I wasn't raised in any of the Southern churches. I was raised Catholic. But in the South, a lot of the churches have something, I guess you could call it like a spiritual awakening. They have it called being saved. And at some point, usually I think when you're a teenager or tween, they let you get saved. And most people who I know who are very much in their faiths of these churches in the South who have been saved say it was a very meaningful experience and they really felt divine love or they felt the spirit of God or something along those lines. They felt like they actually had been saved by or from whatever. I'm not sure. I don't know much enough about the religions to know what being saved means exactly, but I think it means you don't go to hell. But I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. Something I find kind of strange is that a lot of people are. Well, I don't really find it that strange because if it were happening to me in my when it did in my 20s, I didn't know the term spiritual awakening. I had just, but people can find that term now and they can place it in context to metaphysical experiences that they can't explain. And during this podcast, I want to explain some things, some terms you may have heard that you don't know what they mean for sure, like downloads. You may have heard people talk about downloads. And gosh, I've never heard people talk about them as downloads. I talk to friends about what those are, and we talk about it, and I'd say they seem like downloads. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. So, if you feel like you're having a spiritual awakening in regards to metaphysical beliefs or your psychic senses, basically, waking up your psychic senses, waking up your intuition all the way as much as you can, finding out that you might not be who you thought you were, like all the way. You might have a whole lot more to you than you ever let yourself see or that anyone else ever let you see. A lot of reasons we haven't looked at our spiritual gifts or had spiritual awakenings, or that there's even a thing called the spiritual awakening. And if you listen to the podcast, you do know my opinion, but I don't think it is really a spiritual thing to use your psychic senses to work with the energy. You've heard me say this maybe, but I do believe that we have just an energy system as part of our everything. We have the body, we've got the mind. You've heard all our guests say this too. The mental plane, the spiritual plane, the physical plane, the emotional plane. And the divination tools represent these 4 planes, and they also represent them through elements. So for me, when someone comes to me and they tell me things are happening, they're almost always thinking that they have an attachment or that they have a curse or that somebody's putting a spell on them that's bad or that they're going crazy. Ding, ding, ding. That's what I thought. So sure. It wasn't positive, but I was sure, if that makes sense. I think it's called a spiritual awakening because the energy is associated with spiritual gifts. And most people will say a psychic is gifted with a gift. A medium is a gift. A lot of people will say, I have a gift. And I do believe we have all of us have these. They're gifts, they're abilities. And as we awaken, our gifts and our abilities. It does make us have to kind of, well, we don't have to, but it really works better and happens a lot easier, a lot faster, and a lot like better for everybody, for the whole world, not just you, if we do incorporate our spiritual beliefs into our energy work. It shows when you study the tools, when you look at these things that you're having feelings about, insights about, and they're true, or you're speaking with spirits, and you're like, what or you just know stuff about people, and you always have, but you're just kind of like, wow, I really know a lot more than I used to because you started paying attention, maybe wondering if you're going through a spiritual awakening. When things changed for me, it did not feel like an awakening. I have always had low self esteem. And when I was younger, I don't so much now. I don't trust myself when it comes to love. But I do. That's probably one of the life lessons I'm here for, is what I believe, to find out what love is. I do believe that's what I'm here for, that kind of love. How can I connect? How can I be vulnerable? That goes into other subjects about the spiritual side of working with the energy. So while I explore who I am, why I do what I do, look at the shadow sides, stuff like that, I will awaken more gifts, more abilities. It just kind of naturally happens that way. If I understand why I have such a hard time in love, I'll start uncovering more of my intuition and listening to it more, because I don't want those things to happen again, the bad things. So, I mean, I'm not in a relationship right now, so none of them have worked out. So, I would like one to. It's been a rough Christmas, listeners and watchers. This is a video on Spotify. I'm just doing it on my iPad. Just having a good hair day, I guess. Felt like doing a video. I got hot, so I had to take my sweater off. And so where was I? Spirituality and the gifts and spiritual awakening. A big part of why I think it may be called a spiritual awakening, to start working with your energy, to start working with the gifts, is because it awakens so much about you, inside of you, your insights about who you are, where you're from, what's your life about, what are you about, why are you doing anything. We all have these questions. Why am I here? Big question. There must be a reason. There must be a reason. You know, a lot of people want that reason. Maybe they found it. Maybe they know it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't care. Some people don't. Kind of hanging out, being an atheist, or not an atheist. I don't know. I think atheists are, if I remember correctly, one of my friends explained it to me. It's not the same as Satanism, but it's like a little different. Satanism isn't what you think either, apparently, is what she told me. It's more about like anarchy, if I understand correctly. That's a little off topic. But these are spiritual things too. These are all belief systems. And spirituality is like a belief system. Something that's interesting about working with the divine in any form. It doesn't have to be for a profession. Like, that's what I have done with a lot of what I learned, is I make money with it, or I share the knowledge, or learn more if I can. I try to learn as much as possible. I'm always studying. I'm always trying to get more information. And I do invest in myself a lot too. I get a lot of readings. I pay a lot of money to get really good readings, and they are worth every penny. So let's talk about downloads. You may have heard people talk about it. If you don't know what download is, it's when you're sitting there and all of a sudden you just know a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, whoa, what was that? How do I know what like about angels, for example, or something about evil, or something about the way of the world, how time works, stuff like that has just come to you. Maybe something about a past life, or you'll have a vision that's exactly like so real. It's just like you were just there and you're not daydreaming, stuff like that. And you get information. That's the main thing I think that the people have really adapted the term downloads for, because you get so much information and it all comes through like, and you got it. You're like, oh, my head's full. Oh. And it's great. It's really exciting for me anyway when that happens. I get so excited. It's like an insight, but it's an insight with an insight with an insight. And there's a lot of layers to it. So That's kind of like claircognizance, but with claircognizance, where you just have a knowing instead of like clairvoyance, where you see. This is for some of you who may be new. And clairvoyance is clear seeing. You're not really seeing, you're seeing it in your mind's eye. But claircognizance is just kind of information dropped in. A little bit of the difference between a download and claircognizance is, I feel that claircognizance, we are doing it. But with the downloads, someone's doing it to us or something. Or are we doing it? Maybe we're plugged in and we're accessing something. Doesn't feel like that to me, though. It feels like someone's telling me something. And it could be me. It could be my higher self. That's another term you may hear a lot, higher self. So your higher self is like the you up here, the you who really is wise, the you who knows everything, the you who hasn't forgotten anything, the you who knows why you're here, the you who is behind you. Your higher self is kind of like your guardian angel's best friend. So your higher self is an accessible kind of energy of your spirit that other people can, contact. You can and get in touch with your higher self if you need to. And if you've never done this or heard of it before, I like to think of my higher self as looking exactly like me, however I look, and wearing white for some reason, like a white robe and robes, and kind of like a toga. And she always has a book. I don't know why in my mind she always has a book. She's always like carrying a book, and it seems like it's a hymn book, a song book, and not like she's writing or she's reading or anything. It seems like a song book, and she just has it. I love to use my imagination. And that is the key, I think, of all the things you can do other than being curious, is use your imagination and let it go wild, and don't give yourself any rules when you're thinking about these things. You don't have to have any rules when you're trying to figure it out. You can be right, you can be wrong. I mean, we don't know much about this stuff. Some people like really got it down. But how do we all as a society and a culture come together and say, okay, these are the words, these are the things, these are the processes, these are the things that happen to us when we have the spiritual awakening of this kind. And anyone who's been through it and tells their story, you'll hear the themes, how they're all very similar. And a big one, very few people will be like, yeah, I always knew, never had a problem. Never hear people say that. There's always problems. And that's part of where the spiritual part comes in. So with your higher self, this is a spiritual concept. I believe in it. So I could say, like, this Christmas sucked. Broke up with my boyfriend 2 days before Christmas. And I was alone all Christmas. My father thought he might have COVID again, so I couldn't go see them. My kids didn't want to hang out. So I just dropped their presents off, and it was really lonely. I did make a friend online. And otherwise, I spent a lot of time doing Reiki and trying to reach my higher self to try to understand what I'm going through and try to understand why does it hurt so bad to lose someone I love. And I did choose to do it because of my belief system, really. And I want to not be tricked by myself anymore and to believing what my naive romantic self wants to believe is the reality. And it never is. And it's always more complex than a simple idea or dream anyway. There's more than one person involved, two imaginations, two curiosities. And maybe all their guides and all their angels, all my angels, all of my guides, and spirit animals. Don't forget them. And the angels. Yeah, we got a lot of things going on. When you get even just two people together spiritually, intimately, or even as friends, just to see what happens. I think that might be a big reason we exist, is to learn from each other. And so if you were listening to this podcast and it grabbed your attention to find out about maybe you're having a spiritual awakening, what does it mean? Is this what's happening to you? I would say you are the only person who knows. And it's not, I don't think it's like this, whoa, I know it. Can be. For me, it was more gradual. It's kind of like a acceptance thing, really, than a knowing. I kind of already knew it, but I had to get to where I could accept And I don't necessarily like the term spiritual awakening semantic kind of thing because it's already there. It's just more like I think someone said this on the podcast. It's more like a reminder, so like a spiritual remembering. I think somebody said that. I wish I could remember who, but that's kind of more what it's like. The spiritual remembering of who you are, why you're here, what you're doing, and all the things you can do that everybody told you is impossible. And not everybody. I didn't. And if you're watching this podcast or listening, you have done things that you can't explain, or you have experienced things that you are wondering, wow, is this spiritual? Is this psychic? Is this crazy? I'm not the answer. I don't have the answer. I mean, I'm not the answer to anything. But I don't have the answer for you. You have all the answers, and that's the best part of a spiritual awakening is getting to know yourself and getting to know what you want and then getting it, hopefully. Learning it. Learn what you want. Learn how to do everything if you want. Or just keep doing it to evolve your life, make it better, believe in yourself, believe in love, believe in the people you love, even when they can't be their best selves and you can't be your best self. And it's kind of hard to always be your best self. So, listeners, watchers, if you are having a spiritual awakening feeling and this is a new thing for you, and maybe there was an incident, which was a download, maybe, or just a flash of an insight, and you just got something, and you're popping on to look at podcasts and you just happen to come on to this one, I'd like to give you the advice to keep going down the rabbit holes. I would say pick your favorite subject. Pick something you already know you're doing, but you're thinking you don't, but you're pretty sure you do. But you're pretty sure you don't. Can't be. And remember, you're not waking up. You're just remembering. I'd like to thank my sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website, everclear.com. You can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And I am an advisor on Everclear under the name Lisa P, Leesap. And I just love Everclear. It's great. I'll be working tonight. I hate calling it work because it's so fun. It's really enriching, and it's the clients are just amazing there. And I've made so many bonds with my coworkers and my clients. And any news about the Rustic Psychic School? I did get my palmistry class uploaded, but we're having a little, I think I did say this during Carol Starr's podcast. We did have a little, I do have an issue. I have an issue with the, you can pay for the class, but then it doesn't pop up. Like you can't watch it. So don't buy it yet. But if you do, email me, Lisa, Lisa, at weareallpsychic.com, and I will send it to you. But otherwise, I would love to tell you that my Christmas was great, but it wasn't. But I will tell you, I got through it and I will be okay. And if you had a rough time too, I am very sorry. And some part of me was with you, lying on the couch in pain, probably, heart, back, whatever it may be. I feel you. But if you had a great time, God bless. Go for it. And lastly, I always love hearing from you. If you want to be a guest, Lisa at weareallpsychic.com. Always looking for guests. Always looking for guests. Always. And I love you. And thank you for listening and watching. Peace out.